everyone, it's Dustin with TechMD coming at you with an iPhone XR. So the customer says it just blips on, but nothing happens. I've seen it once before. We want to make sure there's no crud or dirt or anything like that. 99% of the time it's going to be that. I was actually surprised to finally find a charge port. I don't get very many charge port replacements on iPhones, but in this case there was nothing in there, and it didn't want to charge whatsoever. At first I thought it was a battery, but it is definitely going to be a charge port, and I'll show you guys how. I already quickly took apart this phone, but I wanted to film it, so I'm going to show you guys how to do it. I'm going to use a 00 pentalobe screwdriver. I'm using grip tools. You can find them in the link in the description. I recommend buying all these parts from Andrew Gadgets. You're going to find the best price. Once again, the link's in the description. Or you can purchase off of Amazon or eBay. So, the customer opted for a battery replacement. If your phone's over 2 years old, you're especially having charging issues, you're going to kill that battery even faster. You just might as well do battery, charge port, and screen. So first step is we're going to put it on the heater and just warm it up. Just put it at 200 degrees roughly for about 1 or 2 minutes and get it hot to the touch. Then grab some gloves, put those on, protect your hands. And I just use the iseasmo tool to open it up and slide my tool up and around, and then I twist right here. Slide this over, twist. Slide this over, twist, 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 all the way up. Take your tool right here and slide and twist. If your screen is still good, that'll preserve it. If it's cracked and still good, then Andrew Gadgets or other companies will purchase these good parts from you. So how do we test to see if it's a charge port? Well, first, it's very likely it could be a battery. So the first thing you're going to do is plug in your battery and see if it will charge with the battery. So carefully move that over, don't cut it or break it. And just grab your battery out of the box here. And let's see if the charge port is good or bad. And the best way to do that is to plug it in. Now, this thing does kick on, but it doesn't want to stay connected. And it doesn't want to show charging. If you know your battery's good, then you can go ahead and just disconnect the new battery, but we are going to install it, so we're going to use it. It mysteriously wants to charge again. What's your passcode?
2823.
This was just showing 0% or like a couple of percent and not charging. And now it is. That's most interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of been doing that for about maybe 2 weeks.
Oh, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then sometimes I'll just like wiggle it around. Okay. And then it'll start going.
So the customer says that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and he wiggles it around and it starts working. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it due to the fact we're already in the phone, but it should indicate it's not charging. Like I said, I literally just tested this and it wasn't. So I seen the issue. I don't like to replace charge ports if they're not bad. So we're gonna go ahead and just replace it. But if you wanted to test a charge port, make sure it's good. These have microphones on it, so you would want to make a phone call or whatever to test everything. That's fine. The one thing you couldn't test is the vibration motor that it connects to right there. So you just move that cable out of the way, and plug it in, and then plug in your charge port and test. If it works, then you're good to proceed further with the repair. Okay, so for all you who are just here for a battery replacement, we're going to do that first. Now, these magic pull tabs that Apple has, I hate them. They never work for me. I never can pull them out well. You sit there and fight them forever. I ain't gonna do that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up the screen. I'll just get those 2 tri-point screws loose. These are all tri-point, by the way. I hope you have some basic knowledge of phone repair, but if you don't, then you definitely need to follow this video in detail. At this point, you could technically leave the screen on, but I like to remove the screen out of my way so I can work. So let's move the bracket, and I'm keeping all these screws organized so I can put them back in the exact same spot they belong. Just set that screen aside. Put it at maximum temperature. So I think it's like 120 degrees Celsius on some, or around 115 to 120. And this pad goes to 240. So let that warm up, get to top temperature. Next, so alcohol 99.9%. It's perfectly okay to use on components and electronics. Just don't put it on your camera. Makes it a nightmare to clean that off and can cause problems. So we're gonna go ahead and drop some liquid alcohol in here. This is gonna help make life really easy and loosen up that battery. Not completely, but easy enough where we can get in. So I just dripped some of that in there. Okay, this is a good time to, since you're already using alcohol and you want the phone to be dried out, a good time to replace the seal on your phone. Now, if you're just doing a battery replacement, you'll have to order a seal. If you plan on doing more phones in the future, you can use T7000. I do not use these seals because they drive me nuts. I use T7000. Just moving Face ID out of the way. That way we can dig around it without touching the cameras. Also, another thing, if your glue is giving you a little bit of trouble, you can wait till you warm up the phone, you remove the battery, and then you can start removing the glue. That's another option as well. It'll soften it up. But this glue is so dirty and dusty, it definitely needs to be replaced. Probably because it's been replaced before, the screen, it looks like the seal was not replaced last time, prior. Okay, so we let that alcohol dry up a little bit. Just do a little bit more. And we'll go ahead and put it on the heater and get it nice and hot to the touch, so it makes it easy to remove the foam. So maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So we're gonna go skip a little ahead to the screen while we're waiting for that to warm up. You can multitask and make repairs go much faster if you do this. So we're going to plug the LCD cable on and see if the prior repair shop transferred the LCD data. Now, the LCD data mainly is good for, so that way if you want to keep True Tone working, and to keep compatibility high. So it looks like it has original LCD data, so that's always a good thing. So we're just going to read the data. Oh, why did I do that? One more time. This is really for the professionals and people who fix phones a lot. I'm going to be getting the 12 series eventually here. That's coming out soon. Okay, so we're going to take our new screen. And we're going to write to the new screen. Okay, checked it, make sure it's good. Now we can turn that off. The data has been transferred. Next is we're going to go ahead and take the loudspeaker off. There's an extra screw here. It looks like it fell off of that. And that screw is missing. That screws a tri-point. Then you would put this on the heater, and since it's already been repaired, it doesn't need it. Then we just take this off. It'll be a little sticky. And while it's nice and hot, I recommend like some big plastic thick tweezers to grab a hold of this and pull it out. It'll be a little stubborn, but it'll come out. Some thin tweezers. Get underneath here carefully. Go for the microphone first. Lift that up, and then lift this piece up. The aftermarket's not worth any money, so just chuck it. If your screen's still good and it's original, then you don't need to chuck it. Just 1 minute on the heater will loosen that up, and I recommend at 200 degrees, maybe even 2 minutes. Now, if you need to replace just the ear speaker without losing Face ID, I'll show you guys real quick. You just remove this plastic tab here. This is usually only if you get water in your phone or lots of dust. So you'll put some flux on that, desolder it, and then solder it to a new cable. Or a new, the same cable, you solder it to a new speaker. If you replace that cable, Face ID is gone. I've already lost the adhesive that came off that, so I'm just going to put some Captain's tape down over those connections. Just to prevent those from shorting. Okay. So I always like to get this piece in here first. And sometimes it's a little tight. Make sure it sits flat. And then this piece, you push in and down in there. Then this pops out sometimes. Make sure the microphone hole is over that section. And then close this up. Put your 4 screws back on. I use a magnetizer to make sure that these screws are stick to my screwdriver, and just circle around the positive to keep it strong magnet on the tip. Okay, so we're done with the screen. All right, we're gonna take our gloves because the foam should be nice and toasty now. Go ahead and put the Face ID back in, out of your way, preferably. Okay, that's back in. Feels pretty warm. I'd almost prefer a little bit more heat. You can use an iPlastix tool to get it underneath, or you can use an iseasmo tool. Whatever you're comfortable with. Just don't be cutting any cables. These are the cables that you can cut. As you can see, with a little bit of alcohol and heat, comes right loose. This piece goes right here. We'll put it back later. Go ahead and remove the old adhesive. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just use my finger to take it off while it's hot. I'm rotating my fingers around because they start to burn. But the battery does need to set on a nice flat surface. Remember to be careful not to slip and cut those cables. Okay, so the next step would be to make sure that's connected. Your charge port here. Shouldn't be disconnected if you're just replacing the battery. And then I like to plug in the battery and then press in and set down. You guys can watch towards the end of the video if you want to see me installing that. But now we are going for the charge port. Which is underneath the motherboard. That's always nice. We're gonna move our screws out of the way so we can have a nice spot to organize all these screws that we have to do. So we're gonna start all the way to the far left and work our way up. Most of them are Phillips, it looks like. Go all the way to the bottom left. And every screw that you see, you go ahead and take out one by one, keep them in order, and life will be good. You don't do that, well, things will get disorganized and life will not be good. Pop out our SIM card reader, or SIM tray, set that aside. When you move this cable, or this bracket up, there's a little connection right here. Just disconnect that carefully. Plastic tool or some tweezers, just don't be breaking stuff. We're gonna go ahead and remove this rubber gasket. Two more Phillips screws right there in the middle. Put that bracket right above it. And that should be in most of the Phillips, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna get my standoff. Okay, we're gonna get the other microphone here. And then we got two bottom screws here for the final two screws, hopefully. Well, I'm sure there's more. Yeah. Gotta move this. Go ahead and disconnect that little cable here. It should just pop off it pretty easy. You should see how many screws are over here. You hear me?
What's that?
So you should see how many screws are out of your phone. And there's a lot. Okay, so we're gonna slowly pull this up. Let's see if we can pull this through without having to move the motherboard. That would be always nice. Yeah, so it looks like we're gonna have to move this cable out of the way. Just bend that out of the way a little bit. We're gonna loosen this screw up. Pop that off as well. Should only be doing that with tweezers if you're a pro. So just be careful. You can use plastic tools or your fingernail to pop those up. Okay, so we got the board loose now. So this board, you don't want to bend it too much. Just lift it up a little bit. This comes right out. Grab our new one. Remove any stickers. There should be a sticker right here. That's covering your microphone hole. That's really important to remove, or these mic holes will not work. Okay, so I'd like to plug it in first. So what we're going to do here is lift up the board and slide it under. And we're going to connect it first before doing anything else. So if you don't have the proper alignment, well, life is going to be miserable. Make sure it's clicked in there really good. Next is do everything in reverse. So plug that in. Take our two bottom screws and screw down this. It's kind of tricky to get it just right, but it's important not to screw it in crooked. Next is we're going to plug these in, and there's a little wedge right here and a little metal bracket that you want to fit that right directly over, and you know you got it in the right spot. It kind of like clips in there too. It's really nice. All right, now that we got that in there, let's go ahead and put our send tray back in. Kind of lifts up and goes around. We're going to connect here. Let's get some of these screws back in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this bracket back in. And the standoff screw right here and screw that in. Get this back on there. Get that lined up. While you're holding it down, let's put some screws in. Try to do everything as in order as much as possible so you don't lose track of where things go. It'll make your life very easy if you do it that way. Get this screw. This bracket's a little bit tough to get back on the way Apple had it. Just have to get this with your left hand. Hold that down and screw that in, and then that's setting proper. And get that screw in. Okay, let's get this little connection. Actually, before we do that, let's put this other standoff screw in. Okay, so I did make a mistake. You don't want to put this screw here. You want to put a standoff screw. I was wondering why there was two screws there. I forgot. So I had two screws there. One of them is actually supposed to be a standoff first, and then you put that down. And same with this screw here. So there we go. Of course, there's a piece of plastic covering them. It's a pretty complicated repair, this one is. Just lots of screws and lots of details. Okay. All right, now that we got it all together, finally, let's get the battery in here. So just carefully remove that. And here's my battery technique to put it in right every time. So plug in first, press in, while holding down the connection, press in, and then down. It bends the cable and it just gets the right orientation and everything. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and loosen up the battery because you don't want to connect the screen by doing this. The next step is to put down your tape or your T7000, but I do the T7000 after connecting the screen. So line this cable up. Careful, these cables are really thin. You don't want to bend them out of whack and break them. Connect the smaller cable first. Just kind of have to feel over it, and you don't press too hard, but enough where you can kind of hear a click. And just set that down. Put our screen bracket on. Now, if you want to test, you don't have to put all these brackets on and screws. You just have to plug the cables in, then plug the battery in finally, then test your work. And if you're new at this, you should definitely test your work. Just saves you a few minutes of tearing down the phone again if you don't. And absolutely you should test your work if you're going to seal it with T7000. So yeah, I'm going to be testing it. Now, some of the other scenarios that you guys may incur is, what if it just stopped charging and new port doesn't work? You've tried 2-3 ports, tried a couple batteries, nothing works. Well, that could indicate either a bad screen, bad motherboard, and in particular, a charging IC. And so we do take care of that, and if you want to send it in, we can take care of you for further issues if you can't figure it out. Okay, everything seems to be functioning. You can go further testing if you need to. So just move your screen out of the way as much as you can. And then you just coat the frame with some T7000 and it turns into that adhesive. It makes life really nice. This is a water sealant glue. It's going to keep all that dust and dirt out of his phone. Or at least we hope. You live in a market that doesn't fix iPhones, very unlikely, but if you can't find anybody, you can always mail in your device, and we'd be glad to do it for you. Free shipping on the way back. We fix most devices within 24 hours and then ship it back. Okay, so it clips in, so you don't really have to clamp it down, which is always nice. Let's put our pentalobe screws back in. And then get some alcohol on a rag and wipe up the excess T7000 that oozed out. That's it, guys. A perfectly well done charge port, battery, and screen replacement. He'll be good for another couple of years minimum. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and more detailed videos on how to fix phones coming in soon. Thanks.